Hello, and welcome to Ideas with Diana on this November 8th, 2025. With me, I have Barbie on my right and also Lara from Milan on to the right of Barbie. Um, Today's topic what I'd like to talk about is something that I just realized and sensed yesterday, but felt today like that though. An interesting change is coming in this country, and it started actually with the 2020 election. Part of the reason why it started this way is also it started with Lollapalooza too, when like for example Chapel sang Pink Pony Club and Wet Leg. What happens musically when I watch Lollapalooza and saw Chapel and sing Pink Pony Club and also Wet Leg. The thing that reminds me of though is what people were sort of forced to accept based on the social class and how they're raised is now over. There's a greater choice, and that greater third choice can succeed. Wet Leg is a great example. Chapel is a great example. Um, the other artist, Mama Loach, is another example from what I saw from Lollapalooza. And this also relates to the 2020 election because in my social class, I was raised upper middle class. I went to school in Wauwatosa, Eisenhower, and also in Kenosha, I lived in a sort of upper middle class labor section of Kenosha. Even though there are many people from UAW, our neighbor was actually a time study manager at the Motors. One of our Another neighbor was actually the postmaster of Kenosha. So in those days, basically, it was a case where basically based upon your social class and status was you were sort of told, well, if you're a certain social class or a certain ethnic group, you were told you could only vote a certain party because only their party would support you. And that was the same even for many years with LGBTQ. For many years with LGBTQ, you were told that if you were LGBTQ, you had to vote Democrat because only the Democrats would support you. However, even back then when I heard that, before I fully transitioned, I realized that basically that was not the case. Even because on Friday nights, friends know not to call me when Filing Line is on. And Margaret Hoover, the Hoover Foundation, Stanford University, all those are considered Republican organizations, and they are allies of LGBTQ and support LGBTQ. And there are many in LGBTQ who are Republicans, in addition to Democrats. Also considered the film The Birdcage. In The Birdcage, they had made in the 80s is about two gay men who ran a club in Florida. And one time, someone who was a Republican who was being blackmailed needed the place to get away from the press. And then when he met the two guys and they talked, and the one guy's talking about education, how bad education was, he said, "Well, wait a minute, you sound like a Republican." He says, "Yeah, I am a registered." He says, "But you're gay." Yeah, that doesn't matter. I still care about education. I'm a registered Republican. And that was example, but it took until 2020 for the break to occur. Well, Barbie, did you want to jump in? Oh yes. What Diane is trying to say is basically the issue is people were thought that because you're a certain social class or a certain ethnic group, you had to vote either Republican or Democrat. And if you voted third party, you're wasting your votes. And that there wasn't any other choice. You had to accept basically the bad choices of both parties. In 2020, it showed you didn't. Oh, Laura, you want to jump in? Yes. Well, in my culture, we were always told that the Democratic Party was always the best for us, and everything else had our backs. But um, many of us realized that even when we looked at the choices, especially what the Democrats had done when they had what some people suspected as a president who should not stayed in office, should have resigned gracefully or not run to save his honor and the honor of the party and the country. Um, that's when we started to listen to basically Donald Trump. And it wasn't because we really believed everything he said or we believed everything the maker said, but what it was is basically we realized both sides of the party, both parties had put in poor choices, mediocre choices, and something had to be done because we didn't want to go through another case where someone was trying to cover up or suspected cover up or basically just doing putting someone in charge who did something, and especially when I hear things about the auto pen. Yes, you're right. I mean, the auto pen scared me. Even conservative networks, as Newsmax and the national news on CW, basically talk about concerns of both parties still not getting it. And like today, basically in Wisconsin, we're very glad that food stamps was restored, because there are many people in this area that depend upon it. The food banks are completely empty. Everyone came at the first of the month, and luckily it was restored because there would have been a major thing. Because even the Saturday at a holiday event in Monument Square, we seen there was something that happened like a big police action. Someone and it's a simple holiday event. That probably could have been due to the stress. Oh, Barbie, did you want to jump in? Yes. Well, the thing is, in the society basically that we live today, even when we were born, we lived in a society where basically, um, for example, when I was first born in '57, we lived in a society where basically, if you were in high school and you worked at a fast food place, you could afford to buy a new car and pay for it in 2 years. Not lease the car in 2 years, pay for it fully in 2 years. You owned the car, not leased it. And that existed even up to the 90s. Oh, Lord, you want to say something? Yes. Even for my culture, it was the same thing. We didn't need government handouts. We didn't need to talk about reparations. We didn't need to talk about special things or even food stamps. Oh, Barbie, did you want to jump in? Yes. Because when I was born in '59, and Diane, as you remember, even in your neighborhood, stores had basically where you could run a credit and you could pay it back when you got paid. So basically, food stamps were not really needed, but because of today's cash and carry society, it is needed. You're right, guys. And the thing is, what happens, no, we realize that you always have a choice. You always have a choice how you live. You always have a choice how you vote. You don't have to think of the two-party system. And really, I think it's time we adopt a three-party system because this last election was actually the third-party candidate won for the second time in history, and that was Donald Trump. Although President Trump ran as a Republican, he actually was a third-party candidate because at the Republican convention, there were many people who decided not to attend the Republican convention in Milwaukee, and also there are other people on the Republican side who decided to campaign on the other side of the aisle. Also at state functions, where different people where they met in church at state functions, one group of the old political guard sat on one side of the pew, leaving President Trump and his wife to sit alone, which, in my view, is basically a bad example of national unity. They should all represent the country together, regardless of the personal opinions and political opinions. But this is the reason I think why this shows that people have a choice in a third party and need to exercise it like they did in 2020. Oh, Barbie, you want to see? Yes. Well, what I think is basically we should be able to get back to our lives where we don't have to think about politics so much. And in our house, it's good. We actually limit our news because we're concerned about the quality of news reporting, but also, well, you shouldn't have to worry about politics. We're supposed to be having professionals at the state level, at the city level, and at the national level who are being paid to do their jobs and have the proper education, temperament, demeanor, comportment, as well as leadership to do their jobs and not um, act as bad boys and stuff in that though, and bad girls like that. Oh, Laura, you wanted to jump in? Yes, and also playing the race card. Um, all of us know that basically we work better when we work together. And even like with the music we listen to at home when we listen to Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, it shows one person who's in what some would call basically a mixed relationship. But even in the 80s, that's accepted, and that's accepted many places worldwide. But yet, there's still some groups that try to bring back some old beliefs, thinking that they're better, and they're not. Oh, Diane, you wanted to jump in? Yes. Well, I remember basically a friend of mine I knew many years ago. We met in the shelter. She is from Illinois, and what happened? She is very intelligent, and what happens? One time we went out to McDonald's in Kenosha, and well, what happened was basically she was of a different culture than I was. She is African American. I'm Caucasian. Well, we went to this McDonald's in Kenosha. It's supposed to be a McDonald's that's very liberal, and the customers there. But when we went there, it was like everyone was aghast. It was like, oh, oh. And finally, the manager said, "All of you should be ashamed of yourself. You saw guess who was coming to dinner in 1960, and you talk about your liberalism, but you guys act as if you wear hoods and you're part of the KKK." And says, "How dare you?" And the manager apologized for him. And the one person I went, she even said, she said, "Diana, let's go because I can see they're making you nervous. Let's find someplace else to go." And we did. And even like with me, sometimes I try to sometimes get along too much when I really shouldn't. And but the thing is, what happens? So in at that time, many people in Kenosha were quite surprised because they said, "Well, you're raised in Kenosha, upper middle class. I thought your parents didn't." No, it's just I'm very private with myself. I don't believe in broadcasting who I date, who I love. Basically, I'm open. I'm very open minded. I've had many dates, and many friends who are African American, Mexican, Italian. Laura, you want to jump in? Yes. Well, you named me after a friend of yours from Milan, and your friend had olive skin. Yet both of you got along well together. You worked together. She was engaged at the time, but you were still friends. And also, she defended you when they tried to attack you in Milwaukee because of the way you eat. How they said you eat funny. You eat European style because basically the way you use your knife and fork rather than vulgar American style. Yes, that's true. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Or yeah, because Laura was a very good friend, and also nothing happened even like at that time. When I was working in Milwaukee, we had my parents and I sometimes would meet me for lunch because they'd shop in Milwaukee and we'd shop. And one time, one person made a big fuss and said, "Well, you're 27 years old and you're still meeting for parents for lunch. You're not in school." And then Lara, who I worked with, original Lara I worked with from Milan, jumped in. "Oh, Lara, you want to say something?" Yes. That's a case where basically you right. You even though you're an American, you were raised with high European standards of eating, drinking. So, but the thing is, and the person who attacked you, he was a PhD. He claimed he went to Paris or Paris, as I should say. Um, and what happened? Lara defended you because she was from an upper European family as well, and she is common in Europe for upper level families to meet family members at lunch even when they're working. Oh, Barbie, you wanted to say something? Yes. Even in the Barbie world, we've learned to work together a long time ago. We've learned to stop all sorts of things like where there's a mistake that's made at one point where we used to have some Barbies say, "Well, math is hard." We finally realized, no, not to say that. And everyone can do anything they want to do. And we have Barbie, and the Barbie world has worked together. We have shared our culture, shared our clothing, shared our ideas, and so basically we're like a unified Barbie culture, and that's why I'm glad we have the Barbie sorority now. Diana, did you want to conclude? Yes. Well, what I just want to say is just remember, like with the Barbie sorority, we're all members, different groups of people, different cultures, different ancestries, but we also believe that basically we don't believe in between choosing between two choices made for us by elites. We believe in making our own choices. We believe in even voting third parties, even if it means basically voting a third term for President Trump, if that's what's needed to finally clean up the errors of the older two parties, or forming a third party. But the thing is, never feel you have to be forced into something, or someone has to say because of your culture, you have to vote this way or do this way. You do what you feel is right, and you do what you feel you believe. And what happens if someone tells you not to work with someone because of the wrong color, they're the wrong religion, they don't believe in God, the LGBTQ, what happens? Are they really thinking for you and thinking for your best thing? Most of the time, they're not. They're not. The best thing to do is you work with people you trust, and you can feel when you trust people. But when someone tells you distinctly not to do that or makes an implied threat, you know basically to say no and basically work with that person. Because what happens, we achieve more when we work together. And that's why all of us like Pink Pony Club, because basically, I remember in the 90s trying to come out and how the idea of West Hollywood on the internet was a safe place through GeoCities. And so when I listen to a song, I think of GeoCities and the West Hollywood safe place on the internet, as well as alt transgender, social transgender. Oh, Barb, you wanted to say something? Yes. Well, even in the Barbie world, we support transgender a long time ago. However, again, we didn't ask for politicians. We didn't ask for certain types of elite leverage. We just decided just to do it internally, and we did it step by step. Oh, Larry, you wanted to jump in? Yes. And this is the reason why Barbies are accepted worldwide, regarding whether you're in Italy, Europe, Russia, um, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Israel, Lebanon, or whether you're Palestinian or whether you're Arabic. Barbies are accepted everywhere, and we share ideas. Well, thanks, guys. That's important. I hope basically people understand and basically realize you do have a third choice. You don't have to listen to the elites of certain political parties. Yeah, even if you have to vote third ticket and people try to scare you, vote third party. And if we need to elect Trump to a third term again, to clean up the errors of the elites of both parties, I'm willing to do that. In that though, I don't. In the cases when I vote, I don't necessarily agree with everything, and I don't vote by party. I vote by the person. Demeanor, comportment, temperament, scholarship, leadership, and practice, as well as experience. Oh, Barbie, you want to say something? Yes, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be by labels. You have to look at the person, because, and it comes down to whether you trust the person, whether the person's trust is really going to be is really what they're going to do to help others. Oh, Laura, yes, and also it's good to remember basically that even though we have different nation states, um, we all work together, and it's good that basically in the Barbie sorority that we all do work together, we coexist, and we work together as a family. Well, thanks, guys. Hopefully people will understand this, others will understand this, and have the courage to follow through. Well, this has been Ideas with Diana on November 8th, 2025. Let us know what you think on YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, and Blue Sky.